sometimes know. Welcome to the Kennedy Toolbox for Technical Analysts here at Elliott Wave Sport. So today we're going to look at one of the most important topics within the Wave Principle, which is how do you spot an Elliott Wave extension as it unfolds or in its early stages. Well, first of all, you have to understand the rules and guidelines pertaining to the motive waves, specifically the impulse. So right here in front of me, I have a hand like drawn structure of an impulse, and it's already labeled with waves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So wave 1 begins here and then ends there. Wherever wave 1 ends, wave 2 begins, and wave 2 ends exactly where wave 2 ends, wave 3 begins, and we have wave 3 right there till that high. And then whenever wave 3 ends, we have wave 4. So when wave 4 ends, immediately we have wave 5. So the rules that Elliott discussed were that wave 2 right here, which is this leg, cannot retrace more than 100% of wave 1 right here. So what does that mean? Let me just make this guy right here. Okay, different color. Let's choose this one. That means if this is wave 2, it can retrace up to there. It can retrace, down to there, down to there, down to there, but not down to there. So sometimes it will retrace down to or up to 100% of wave 1. That is wave 2 be exactly equal to wave 1, but it cannot be more than that. Even by a percent, it's not acceptable. So wave 2 cannot retrace more than 100% of wave 1. That's the, like the first rule. The second, it focuses on the third wave, which is this guy right here. It says wave 3 cannot be the shortest move or the shortest wave between wave 1, wave 3, and wave 5. So this is wave 5. So this wave in the middle cannot be the shortest. So that means we literally cannot have something like this. Let me put this one on the side. You see, you can see this leg right here. Wave 1 is shorter than wave 3, and also wave 5 is shorter than this one. So that is not acceptable. So we cannot count in that way because wave 3 is the shortest. So what do we do then? What does this rule mean? Does that mean wave 3 has to be the shortest? No. Sometimes you will have something like this. Wave 1 will be longer than wave 3, but wave 5 will be shorter than wave 3. That is acceptable. Or you will have wave 5 right there being longer than wave 3, but your wave 1 being shorter than wave 3. Wave 5 longer than wave 3, but wave 1 shorter than wave 3. So that's another way of looking at it. But most of the time, wave 3 is often the longest wave between wave 1, 3, and 5. Then the other rule says wave 4, this guy right here, cannot overlap with wave 1. So what does that mean? Let me just correct it. Where wave 1 ends is, up there. So that means wave 4, it cannot enter this price territory and end there as wave 4. Don't get me wrong when I'm saying that it cannot, enter this price territory. Let me show you an example. Sometimes your wave 4 will overlap with wave 1 but will not end there. Let me show you 1, you have 2, and then you have your 3 right here. It's not so rare. 1, if we have a triangle, 4, and then you have your 5. So in certain scenarios, you will see something like this and it's acceptable. It's acceptable. But what happens is the final sub wave of wave 4 is outside the territory of wave 1. As you can see, we have an overlap here. Let me do the labels for you. Let's do the labels for you. And your wave 4, your wave 5. So you have 1, 2, and then 3. A of a triangle, B, C, D, E. That's 4. So you can see the final subwave, which is wave E, is outside this price territory of wave 1. So in this case, the wave count is acceptable because no, the rules are not really broken. But this one is not acceptable. Wave 4 must end outside the price territory of wave 1. So most of the time, this is achievable, this one, or it happens when there's a triangle or there's a sideways movement. If you have a zigzag, chances of that happening are not there, not unless you have a truncation. Even in flats, not unless you have a truncation, then something like this can happen, whereby your flat will be something like this. Um, you see something like this, say a running flat, and then it ends. You find that we didn't overlap with this part, but chances of that happening are very, very rare. So, anyways, we're talking about an extension here, but we have to focus on the rules. Now, one important rule that has helped me in identifying wave extensions is also not ignoring this rule that says wave 3 must exceed the end of wave 1 or must end beyond the end of wave 1. So as you can see, wave 3 has exceeded this high of wave 1. Even here, wave 3 is above. So that will help you. Remember, wave 2 cannot retrace more than 100% of wave 1. Also, wave 4 cannot end in the price territory of wave 1. So this is how an extension normally plays out. Let me just draw it for you. You will see something like this, right? Then that's your wave 1, and then your wave 2. Now you will see something like this, wave 3, right there. And then what you think is wave 3, and then you see a move like this. So what happens is most people will see 1 right here, 2, which they are still good. And then they will see 3, 4, 5. Okay, in a diagonal, that's okay. But if you are going to count like this, well, we have violated the rule because again, now we have an overlap right here. We have an overlap. So what happens is this is now no longer acceptable in this case because the wave 4 has entered this price territory, especially if we are going to have a wave count in its early stages and you start counting like this. What will happen most of the time is you'll miss out on moves. So just keep the rules. So in the case of, like, instead of just counting as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you see a move that is this big and you are counting a diagonal, we know that in a diagonal, wave 4 must be smaller than wave 2 in the case of a contracting, and wave 5 must be shorter than wave 3. So you see a move bigger than wave 3. This is no longer a diagonal. And most of the time, what people will do, they will sell what they think is wave 5, or maybe some here they start shorting because they think a diagonal will end, and you end up getting caught like on the wrong side of the market 95% of the time because of ignoring this. So instead of counting, because there's an overlap, which means one of the rules was violated, what you can consider is an extension right here, 1, and then you have your 3 right here playing out. Now let me give you a hint on something that Jeffrey Kennedy has been teaching now for years. So what happens is, if you happen, let's say, to have a zigzag here, let me just throw a zigzag for you here. You see a zigzag here, and let's say you see a move like this with an overlap of what may be wave 4, and then you also have a zigzag. Remember, wave 4 tends to be a sideways correction, and also one of the reasons why most of you anyways get like caught into the idea of thinking that this is a diagonal is because of this zigzag subdivisions. We know that in a diagonal, the subdivisions are zigzags, or the combination of zigzags, which is double zigzag, triple zigzag, which is things that really happen. You see a zigzag, you think, well, that's a diagonal. Well, what Jeffrey Kennedy always teaches is that if you see like a 1, 2, 1, 2 sequence, whereby you're supposed to have wave 4 and then you have an overlap, but most importantly, you have like the same correction here as here, that most of the time means that you are actually having an extension. Remember, Zigzags are sharp corrections and are normally found in wave 2, like they're mostly found in wave 2. So you're seeing a correction here that is the same as a correction here. It probably means you have another wave 2. So that's something to catch on. Now, one of the things I've observed over the years was that the volume will start to increase. The volume will start to increase as this move starts to unfold here. So you'll have a volume here that is greater than a volume here in this phase of wave 1. That's another way of spotting the wave extension unfolding. You'll see things like this. You see, you see things like this. As you can see, this is a bit higher than this volume here. So that's one thing. Also, on divergence, normally if you have a diagonal, let me just draw it for you. Most of the time, if you have a diagonal here, let me try and draw something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's leave it like that. So this will be your 1, 2 in a diagonal, 3, and then 4, and then you have your 5 right here. So what will happen is, most of the time in a diagonal, you are going to have this crazy type of a momentum picking here, because this is wave 3. Most of the time in a diagonal, not unless your wave 1 was powerful, what will happen is your wave 3 right here will tend to have the greatest momentum right here. So let me just draw here. What will happen is you will end up having this greatest momentum within your wave 3. So you will have like this reading on the RSI, and then as you reach the peak of wave 3, and then you will have something like this, because normally we have a divergence in wave 5, but you will have something like this. So we know that within the RSI we tend to have like wave 3 having this greatest momentum. So just before the peak of wave 3, you will have like the peak in the RSI, and then most of the time you have what will look like a head and shoulder that fails in terms of momentum. Let me just change the color here, maybe to black. You will have this peak just before the peak of wave 3, maybe somewhere here, the peak in momentum here on the RSI. Whereas here, what you are going to get is not really a peak, but you are going to get something like this, and then not really divergence either, and then something like this as wave 3 unfolds. You see, so here what you see, besides the volume increasing as you enter a wave 3 extension, you also get to see something like that doesn't happen in a diagonal in terms of momentum on the other side. For example, I said here, you see this is the momentum for wave 1, and then the peak for wave 3, just before the peak of wave 3 here on the actual wave count. And then you have this wave 4 momentum, and then you have wave 5. That is why in a diagonal you get to like spot it by the end of a diagonal through the divergence. Whereas here you won't really have the divergence here. What you'll get is the momentum of wave 1, and then the wave 2 momentum. Let me pull this up. Wave 1 momentum, wave 2 momentum, and you have your wave 3 momentum. You won't really see a divergence here. If there is, it's going to be like very slight, like very small divergence. And then instead of seeing now, because this is wave 5, right? Because most of the time what happens is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're expecting the fifth wave. So instead of having that divergence between what is like likely to be wave 5, which is this move right here, you get to see this surge in momentum. So that's another way of spotting the wave extension. Again, in wave 5, you will have momentum that is smaller compared to the momentum of wave 3 here, as you can see. Whereas here you have like 1, 2, which is this wave 1 and 2 here, and then this is 1, 2. Again, most of the time the momentum of this wave 1 will almost be equal to this one, and then you will see also the same correction here and here. But sometimes Anyways, this might not work out all the time. There's nothing definitive in the market. But this correction, the same. And then you see this momentum almost equal here, unlike here whereby you'll see clear divergence. And then in wave 5, you get to see this and then the volume. So another way of actually spotting this, let me just share it with you here, is you will see this. Say you have your wave 1 here, right? And then you have your wave 3 here, you see. And then, okay, let me just push it here higher. You see, push it higher here. So what will happen is you will see something like this. You will see this move here in sometimes being shorter than wave 1. You want to be concerned right away. The moment you have wave 1 being shorter, wave 3 being shorter than wave 1, you want to be concerned. But most importantly, the correction in wave 4. What you expect is wave 3 must be powerful. It should look almost vertical, almost vertical. It tends to be one very big candlestick. That's where the volume is the greatest. So this move here of wave 3, even if there's an extension, it's going to be something like this. And then all of a sudden, you have a move that is almost vertical. And then what happens is wave 4, because wave 3 was very powerful and took like a very short period of time. Wave 4 will often take a lot of time. Instead of correcting deep, will take a lot of time. Why is it doing that? It's trying to balance the price and time, because wave 3 took a very short period of time. So wave 4 will take a bit of a longer period of time to account for that short period of time in wave 3. And then you are going to see all these moves and then a push higher on wave 5. Even wave 5 will be something like this, exhausted, but you are going to see a move like this in wave 3. So if you don't get to see something like that here, a very big candlestick, you want to be concerned. But most importantly, this guy right here, and then again wave 3 being shorter than wave 1, because when wave 3 is shorter than wave 1, well, it rarely happens, but it does. Let me show you an example. It normally means there's an extension of wave 1, of which wave 1 is commonly extended in, let's say you have 1, 2. So you'll see something like this. It can happen 1, you see, 3, and then you have your 4, 5. So in this way, what you will get to see most of the time is that when wave 1 is extended, it's normally because we are in wave 3. You see, wave 1 is most commonly extended in wave 3. Jeffrey Kennedy said that in one of his videos, and myself, that's what I've observed. And you can also go and look if you are well experienced with the wave principle. That's where you will see a lot of extensions, and it will be clear this gap here between this guy and this guy. But the greatest momentum will remain here in wave 3 of 3. So anyways, wave 4, you wanted to take a bit of time than this. And then, even if there's no overlap between this wave 1 and right here, wave 3, you want this guy to be a bit more sideways. So the best way of counting this, instead of like counting that way, is to just say, let me show you, is to just say 1 again here, because we had a brief move here. It's normally in extensions, 1 and then 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see 1, 2, 3. So one of the things you will see, and it will scare you, but rarely does it happen, because I can see I'm running out of time. Sometimes in extensions, what happens is you have your wave 1 being small and wave 2, and then you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4, 5. So this one, it's even harder to anticipate. Most of the time we'll say 1 A, B, C, and you'll be wrong. Just count, be free, just count, just as I have said to you. Have a good one. I am running out of time.